Ukrainian forces have started advancing and have regained control of another settlement in the south of Ukraine. Russian forces launched a counterattack to halt the advancement of the Ukrainian infantry, but were defeated. Part of their tanks was destroyed by anti-tank missiles and grenades, while Ukrainian forces used drones to burn another portion of their armored vehicles. The Russian troops fled from the battlefield. In this video, you can see at least 9 units of destroyed Russian armored vehicles. In an attempt to dislodge Ukrainian forces from the settlements, the Russians are using heavy FAB-500 bombs. However, this tactic does not always prove successful. Furthermore, Ukrainian forces have made advancements in several locations, penetrating more than 5 kilometers into Russian defense lines. Take a look at this video posted by the Russians. We can see a Ukrainian armored personnel carrier moving towards the Russian defense and falling into an anti-tank trench. There's also a line of what they call dragon's teeth, which are anti-tank obstacles. This suggests that the Ukrainian forces have come really close to the main line of Russian defense, having overcome minefields. It's interesting to note that the Ukrainian armored personnel carrier isn't encountering any resistance from the Russians here, except for the deep trench. All of this also means that Ukrainian forces will soon be able to break through the final line of Russian defense and enter the open operational space, where they can advance much faster. For nearly 2 months, the Ukrainian army has been navigating through Russian minefields, suffering significant losses of armored vehicles. However, in some places, the Ukrainians managed to breach the first line of defense. Recently, the Russian defense has noticeably weakened due to the significant loss in armored vehicles, artillery, and personnel within the Russian army. Additionally, the Russians have also lost a considerable amount of ammunition as the Ukrainians effectively conducted strikes deep into the enemy's rear, destroying numerous ammunition depots. The Russians are also facing losses in their aviation. In this video, you can witness the destruction of a Russian attack helicopter, the Ka-52 Alligator. One of the crew members in this downed helicopter was Colonel Vitaly Tabaknikov of the Russian aviation. This helicopter is considered the best attack helicopter in Russia, with an estimated cost of around $15 million. According to British intelligence data, the Ukrainian armed forces have successfully shot down more than a quarter of such helicopters. However, the Russian forces still have sufficient resources in the south of Ukraine to repel the counteroffensive. Unwilling to allow the Ukrainians to advance, the Russians are committing all their forces to launch counterattacks. In this video, we can see a Russian tank moving to support the infantry. The tank was spotted and a decision was made to strike it using an FPV drone. Interestingly, after the strike, the tank immediately exploded. Miraculously, one of the crew members survived and managed to escape from the tank. The disabled tank continued to burn for a while until it turned into scrap metal. Later, it was evident that the drone strike caused the tank's ammunition to detonate as the tank's turret was blown up. 2 more Russian armored personnel carriers were moving to reinforce the position but fell into an ambush. One of them was hit by an anti-tank grenade, but it continued its movement. Then, we see the second grenade missing its target. Eventually, the Russian armored personnel carriers were halted and their crews fled the battlefield. As I mentioned in my previous reports, the Russians almost immediately abandoned their armored vehicles when facing danger. Ukrainian drone operators are consistently engaged in destroying this abandoned armor if it is located in the gray zone and cannot be captured as a trophy. The Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance spotted a Russian T-80 tank. A precise artillery shot was fired directly at the rear of the tank, causing it to immediately catch fire. Another tank was spotted nearby and was also hit by an artillery shell. The same fate befell this tank. It caught fire and burned for a long time until its interior was completely consumed. Eventually, the turret of the tank was blown off. Yet another Russian tank was detected and disabled by artillery fire. Like the others, It caught fire and burned out entirely from the inside. An interesting video has surfaced on the internet. Near the burnt tank, Russian soldiers held a funeral procession. They placed a wooden cross right next to the tank and prayed for their fallen comrade. Another soldier fired shots into the air, as is customary among military personnel. Judging by the remains of the disabled tank, you can imagine the magnitude of the explosion and what might have happened to the crew inside the tank. Ukrainian artillery also successfully targeted and hit 2 more S-24 self-propelled howitzers. The first Russian mortar was positioned in a visible and elevated location, making it an easy target for the Ukrainian artillery, which successfully hit and disabled it. To give you an understanding, this mortar system is a highly dangerous weapon. It is equipped with a 240mm caliber gun and can launch projectiles up to a range of 10 kilometers, capable of destroying even heavily fortified bunkers. The next 2S-4 mortar launcher was spotted as it moved into a firing position. The Ukrainians waited for the mortar to reach its destination and then struck it with a HIMARS missile. As expected, the target was completely destroyed. By the way, the HIMARS rocket systems continue to destroy a lot of Russian equipment every day. 4 armored vehicles were hidden behind the trees, but 1 HIMARS missile destroyed them. However, HIMARS doesn't always hit the target accurately. In this video, 2 Grad BM rocket launchers were spotted. The first missile missed its target, but due to the shockwave, the Grad BM started launching its projectile spontaneously. The second missile also missed. Perhaps the Grad rocket launchers were damaged, but they remained intact nonetheless. HIMARS can miss only if incorrect coordinates were provided to it, and such mistakes sometimes happen. But the most Russian armored vehicles are being destroyed by FPV drones. In this video, one of these drones strikes a Russian armored personnel carrier. It was damaged and caught fire. A few minutes passed, and boom! The transporter suddenly exploded and soared into the air. And this is a larger target, the Russian Sanchepek rocket system. I've often told you how dangerous this weapon is. The Russians are using it against the advancing Ukrainian infantry. The operator directed the FPV drone straight into the compartment with rockets, and the rockets began detonating spontaneously. It looked like a massive fiery show. In war, one has to destroy various targets. It is crucial to destroy enemy ammunition depots. Ukraine is very successful in dealing with this. Each destroyed projectile potentially saves a soldier's life. Destroying enemy ammunition means fighting proactively. It's a preemptive move. That's why the Ukrainian command attaches great importance to identifying and destroying enemy ammunition depots. Using FPV drones, Ukrainians conduct full-fledged hunts for Russian tanks. Drones can also be used against infantry in fortified trenches, and even for road clearing from mines. Here's another advantage of conventional drones over other types of weapons. Take a look at this video. They hid a Russian armored transporter behind an industrial building, pressing it tightly to the wall. Ukrainian soldiers are on the other side. In this position, it's impossible to destroy the armored transporter with artillery or an anti-tank missile. However, thanks to a regular drone hovering in the air, we can observe the location of this target, and then a small FPV drone can fly around the corner of the building and strike the armored vehicle. And the cost of such an operation does not exceed $500. Isn't that amazing? Russian forces have also learned to use various types of drones against Ukrainian armored vehicles. Russian drones like Lancet pose a particular threat to Ukrainian troops. They are responsible for destroying the most armored vehicles. In the next episode, I will show you how many losses the Ukrainians suffer from Russian drone attacks and discuss ways to counter them. Friends, if you enjoyed my video, please leave a like or comment, and don't forget to subscribe to catch the latest episodes. Thank you for watching my channel.